Hey Dom,
Hi, mate. You okay?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Is that audio okay?
Yeah, it's fine. It's brilliant. I
All
was,
right.
uh, I was going to say we sort of snapped here, haven't we?
Well, I saw that you'd done it with the Messi in the past. I was going to use a different one, but I thought I'll go for the Messi.
Anyway, we got the same love for the best player in the world, but obviously.
Yeah, he's better than Ronaldo for me.
Yeah.
Always will be.
I was going to say as well. I noticed it was your birthday 2 days ago as well. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
You have a good time, or has it been a bit harder with everything going on?
I don't really do much for birthdays anyway, so it's just nice to have the family around, and that's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. At one point I did panic 'cause I thought you've been to so many different countries in your career so far. I thought, God, which country is he in at the moment, and which
No,
times are
no,
you
back home.
talking about?
Yeah, no, back home at the moment.
That's all right. That's good then. I was gonna ask where did football start for you, but then when I saw that you were born in Liverpool, I assumed that the better question to ask would actually be which side are you, red or blue?
It's a funny question, actually. Massive blue, but I played for Liverpool when I was younger, so
Hmm,
uh, I had the option of Liverpool, Everton, and United, and Man
hmm,
United, and
hmm.
I actually chose Man United. I loved it. I just loved the training. It was a lot
Yeah,
like skill orientated, and that sort of suited my game. Whereas the others weren't sort of letting me do my own thing.
yeah,
But just because of the travel from Liverpool to Manchester, it wouldn't have been feasible 3, 4 times a week.
yeah. Hmm.
So I actually chose Liverpool over Everton.
And you still had the choice of both.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was sort of Liverpool. I live in Kirby, so Liverpool's
Right. Okay.
academy is right on my doorstep,
Yeah.
and the facilities are amazing. Whereas with Everton, it was at Belfield at the time, not
Hmm.
Finch Farm, the new training ground. So I think that sort of swayed it for me.
I was gonna say because
Uh,
it's not an uncommon story, is it? Especially when you're from Liverpool, they're having to pick from
yeah,
two
exactly. Yeah,
sides
yeah.
growing up. Did you ever get any pressure from your family in that way, or was it just sort of left up to you really?
That I mean, I can't really remember much from the time, but I think the way my family are, they wouldn't have swayed me anyway. It would have been my decision. So I've got three older brothers. Two of us are blues, two are reds.
Hmm.
So pretty 50-50 in the family.
Yeah, no,
The blues and
I'm,
reds.
I'm very similar. My dad's side of the family are all reds, and my mum's dad is a blue. So it's like
Okay.
I mean, I'm not. I'm a Blackburn fan, which sort of
Okay.
leaves me out in the middle. But,
Yeah, yeah.
I can see where the struggles come from sometimes, especially with
Oh, I mean, for the past 20 years, I've had to sit and watch Liverpool win everything. But I think sort of now the tables might be hopefully turning.
I was going to say it's been a good season for you then to be a football fan at least
Most
really.
definitely, yeah. Most definitely.
I didn't like one of the things I was going to ask because you've been to the Liverpool academy and you've been to you say you were at the Man United academy for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is it like as a young lad growing up wanting to be a football player, being at those academies and being like, God, I'm actually sort of training with these with these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time you just want to play football. I mean, I didn't really take much notice into the size. I mean, looking back, obviously it was a huge honour and amazing experience. But at the time, you're just playing football, you're just enjoying it, and that sort of doesn't really come into account. I
Hmm.
think once you're a bit older now, when I look back, I sort of say, oh well, that was incredible. You know, out of all them young boys, and I've been training there.
Yeah.
But I said at the time, it was just turning up, having fun, and yeah, enjoying it.
So you never, because obviously there's always the talk about kids feeling the pressure when they play for these clubs. Did you never really feel that? Was it just about the football side?
Never. It was always just enjoying it and having fun. Yeah.
Do you think that sort of helped you go on? Because like one of the things I was going to ask later on was it seems, especially for English players, there's a lot of pressure to stay in England.
Mm.
With clubs, because there's this perception that if you go somewhere else, you're not going to make it. It's like you have to stay in England. That's where all the money is. That's where the clubs are. It's like,
Yeah.
did that help you take a step abroad then when you're just thinking about the football?
I think so. Yeah. I've always had a big passion for European football. I've always wanted to play abroad because
Hmm.
when I was young, there was never English players playing abroad, and thought I want to be the first one to do that, so to make that step. So yeah, I think I've always wanted to do that, and I'm made up that I've actually done it, and not being stuck into that stigma that you've got to play in England.
Hmm. What by the way I'm going to ask is the what's the Nike Academy? Because I've heard it mentioned a few times. I've seen it a couple of players have gone there, but it's like it's pretty much an enigma to me. It's what.
Yeah. So my academy, it's best experience I think I've ever had in football. It's unbelievable. It's an academy based of players from like 16 to 20-year-olds, and it's from all around the world. And you'll have a squad of 22 players. So we were training at St George's Park, where the England national team train. We were training there every day, and then during the week you'll have a game against an academy side, say for example a Premier League side or Championship side, and then we'll play against that team. And if that team likes one of the players, they'll sign them for free. But the benefit that Nike gets is we're trying all the boots, the equipment, and we're showcasing that to try and advertise their products. But at the same time, obviously, we're trying to get a contract at a club. But the experience was, I think it was too good, if anything, because, as I said, training at St George's Park, you're getting all this free Nike stuff every week. Played against Hertha Berlin, Roma, PSG, Monaco, Barcelona at Wembley. Like them experiences, you don't get that anywhere else at that age.
I was going to say that when you look at the videos of yourself playing, some of the best clips are the ones of that Barcelona game at Wembley.
Yeah,
it was a hell of an experience that.
Yeah, I mean, playing at Wembley and then obviously against Barcelona, and I scored the winning goal. I mean, I never score headers, and to score a header in the last minute against Barcelona with all my family in the crowd, it was amazing. And another one played against Monaco's under 21s. I mean, looking back, I don't know who was playing for them. The likes of Mbappe might have been playing. I don't know. But I remember that the week leading up to that game, a few of the lads we were talking about, imagine scoring against Monaco, because at the time they were sort of becoming the money team and becoming a big name in European football again. And we were saying, imagine you do well and they sign you. And I scored 2 against Monaco, and I'm thinking, I'm going to get a contract here. That's it, I'm signing for Monaco. But obviously nothing came of it. But unbelievable experience.
It must be quite almost daunting then to have that in the back of your mind, especially when you're like, I imagine you're there with your mates, you get to know the people within the academy, and it's like this idea of, God, we could get signed by the team that we're playing this week. Yeah. Is that quite sort of scary going into those games?
Yeah, I mean, I had a game against Cardiff, and I was told by the manager that they were really interested in me. They wanted to have a look at me in this game, and my nerves went and I completely bottled the game. So obviously at times the pressure can get to you because you're playing for a contract at a club, and the nerves can get the best of you. So I think if you go into it with the mindset that you're just playing, like I said when I was younger, just then going out to enjoy it, that's what I probably should have done. But obviously when there's something on the line, it can be done.
And on that, just enjoying the football side of things, like I said before, you've played for so many interesting clubs. So how did that first sort of move abroad happen for you? Because was it to America, the first one?
It was, yeah. It was after the Nike Academy. I was speaking to a scout at Portland Timbers, and he said, there's this club that close to, they got an affiliation with the Portland Timbers. You could go there for 4 months, see how you get on, and might be interested in you, so to keep an eye on you. So that was my first stint abroad, and I probably couldn't have picked a further away place, Seattle, on the opposite side of America. So obviously the time zone and everything was just horrendous. I couldn't speak to my family, and I think it was probably the wrong moves for when I was that young, I think.
Yeah, because you had only been 19, 20 at the time.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think picking my first move, I should have stuck a little bit closer to home.
Do you sort of learn from that then? Because you go to this, like you said, so far away, and it's
100%.
It's completely different, isn't it? It's like different style of football. It's a different culture.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you turn it up and you got to cook for yourself. And I was thrown in with an apartment with 2 other lads, and you're like, this is crazy new experience. I've never done anything like this before. And to be honest, I couldn't hack it for the first couple of weeks. I got moved in with a family instead, and that was a lot better for me. But yeah, obviously it was just a shock to the system, really.
And now obviously, like, even though you said you wanted to go a bit closer to home, it seemed that you didn't take your own advice and then you went straight to Finland.
I think it's just too tempting to do it again. Yeah.
Is it just a case of you see the offers that come in, or you see the availability of a position, and it doesn't matter where it is?
Well, it does depend. I mean, the offer's got to be right, and for me to be playing in England, it's got to be at a good level, and there's just so much competition right now in England. You know, you've got players filtering down from the Premier League, young players into the non-leagues, and I think now you're meant to compete with players who've played for an academy for 20 years. So I think going abroad, it's sort of not an easier option, but there's more options available, I'd say. But yeah, obviously the offer's got to be right. It can't be like in the middle of nowhere on no money sort of thing. You do your research before you go. But as I said, I've always wanted to do it. So yeah.
And something that you mentioned to me is that you're probably one of the very few players, I imagine, who's completed the entire Scandinavian peninsula.
I think I've got I've got Denmark to go, I think.
Yeah, but you've done the whole top of it, haven't you?
The top of it, yeah.
But what's it like playing football in those countries? How is it different to, because again, you have different play styles and different cultures. What's it like going abroad to these places and getting to play football there?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I love Scandinavia. Obviously the winters are a little bit colder than England. But no, the play style is great. It's a lot more technical abroad, I'd say. You get more time on the ball. I think when it came back to England a couple of years ago, I had a culture shock because you don't get any time on the ball, whereas abroad you can take a touch, you can look up and look for your pass. And that sort of suits my game a lot more. But yeah, definitely a lot more technical out there.
Which country have you enjoyed it in most then up there? You know, between Finland, Norway, and Sweden, because it seems like to me that you obviously won promotion with Pieter last season.
Yeah.
But in Finland it seemed like that was your best season, sort of goal scoring wise, and you won a trophy there as well. Yeah. So but does that sort of gauge your enjoyment, or is it other factors as well?
I think you'd have to judge each country in different parts. I think footballing wise, when I was at SECO or SJK in Finland, that was my best footballing season by far. So I was sort of thrown into the deep end, training with the first team, and every day you're training with like international players who play for the country. So I developed so much in such a short space of time out there. I just loved it out there. And then Norway, I think that was probably the best place. Like location wise, sort of the views, and I was in the middle of a valley in the middle of nowhere pretty much, but it was an unbelievable place to live. And then I think for Sweden, that was probably the best sort of people wise. I think I sort of fell in love with the place and the players and the staff. I think that was the best in that respect.
Does it ever surprise you as an English footballer, like the amount of support and fellowship you get from English fans back home? You know, like myself, and you've got English football abroad, etc. And there's so many accounts set up to just follow players like yourself. Does it ever surprise you?
It does, yeah. I didn't even know it existed until I've made the move to Finland. And Camu runs English Players Abroad messaged me. I thought, well, what's this? This is interesting. And I've kept up to date with their page ever since. And it's really interesting, yeah. I mean, because there's not that many that play abroad, and I think now there's getting a lot more traction. You see like newspapers writing about players abroad. It's always the top divisions, like Sancho in Germany and stuff like that. But you never sort of look into the smaller countries, and it's surprising how many players there are actually playing abroad now.
You must have had experiences though where you go to a country and it would just be like yourself, as the only Englishman there.
I've been lucky in a way. I think there's always been one or two.
Right.
When I first went to Finland, the coach was actually English. That's how I ended up going there. Right. And they had two English lads, and that helped me really settle in. America was the only English. I think I was the only foreign player in America for that club. And again, in Norway, there was two other English lads, and in Sweden there was one. So there was two in Sweden as well. So yeah, I've been pretty lucky, really.
Well, I guess that sort of proves the point of the last question then, because like you're saying, there are loads of English lads scattered across different countries playing football. Now, that must help you a hell of a lot when you first move into a place, because you've got different language, different culture, but then you've got something at least familiar there,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I signed in Sweden last year, my accent obviously isn't the easiest to understand. I think I've lost a lot of it by playing abroad. But I remember the lad next to me in the changing rooms, Philip. I'd be speaking to him in Scouse, and he'd be looking at me like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I'd be asking him a question, and I'd just get no response because he just wouldn't have a clue. But obviously, when you've got the other lads, the English lads, it's a lot easier, and you sort of gravitate towards them.
How hard is it to, because obviously there is the football side of things, but then you have to sort of live your life in these places for at least the season while you're there. Outside of football, how hard is it to sort of get attached to the place that you stay in?
Yeah, it can be tough, especially when you don't know anyone there. But I think having good teammates, that's always helpful. They'll make you feel really welcome. And if I think every place I've been so far, the staff have been unbelievably helpful. Like if I ever need anything, they're always there to help me. Everything's provided, your accommodation's provided. There's never any issues. But obviously, as I said, it can be pretty daunting when you don't speak the language and you go in the supermarket and you're looking for something, you can't exactly just ask someone for help, and your family are miles away, sort of thing. But you sort of get used to it, and you do get a little bit of an attachment to the place that you're living
in. And one of the things about, so I was going to ask about the differences between like England and these countries, not just footballing wise, but like everything else. And one of the things that you will have been most sort of have experienced most is this indoor football pitches that they have in Sweden, Norway, and Finland. How weird is it to play like a proper league game or a cup game indoors with fans when we don't do that really at all here in England?
Yeah, it is odd. It is a bit strange, but you do get used to it. I think like having them facilities, it's unbelievable because you can go on them at any time. Like kids can come in on the street and just have a go. Whereas where I'm from, Liverpool, everywhere's locked up. Like the 3G pitches, you got to pay to use them. Whereas abroad, they're all free to use. It's unbelievable. And in terms of matches, as I said, you get used to it because you can't really play outside because it's too cold.
Yeah.
But you'll hear the fans echoing around the arena and that sort of thing. It's a nice experience.
Did you come to sort of enjoy that experience then? Because it is again, to an Englishman, it's weird. It's not you're used to the rain and the wind, and to be in a place where there's almost none of that. Does it make it harder to play, or do you just not notice it eventually?
No, you don't notice it really because you're training there every day,
Right.
so you sort of get used to it. But once the spring ends and it starts to come over to the summer, you're thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to get outside and play outdoors again," because it can get a bit claustrophobic and a bit hot in the domes. Yeah.
You mentioned the temperatures there. Has there ever been an experience in those countries where you've been playing outside and you've gone, "Oh God, this is quite bad here"?
Yeah, my first ever game in Finland outside is a cup game. I think it was -3, -4. And where I'm from, Liverpool, I'm meant to be this tough Scouse lad. So I've gone out with no Under Armour on, no gloves, no nothing. I thought, I'm all right, I'll be fine. Comes to half time, I get in the dressing room, I'm bright blue, my skin, I can't breathe. And I'm looking around, and there's lads with gloves, Under Armour hat, tights on. And I'm thinking they're probably doing that for a reason. They're from here and they can't hack it. And I'm sat there with the short sleeves on. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a wake up call.
Did you play well in that game, or were you too busy trying to keep yourself warm?
I did actually. We played a team in the division above and won 3-1, and I scored in that game. So maybe I should have done it more often.
Played with less clothes on.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
So I'd imagine you'd be desperate to keep running around.
That's it. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, I was just trying to keep warm.
But what position do you play, by the way? Because there's a lot. Obviously, it says on the different places you've played from fullback and centre mid and striker. Is it?
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer the most?
To be honest, I love playing anywhere really. It's a bit of a weird one. I think by this age I should have sort of had a specific position. But I think playing up front is probably my best position. But I like to read the game. I know the game well, so I'd like to say I can play in different positions. I play fullback pretty often. I've done that for the Nike Academy, and I've done it in Finland for a little bit as well because the first team had shortages at fullback, and I felt really comfortable. But I think the problem I've got is just I like scoring goals, and I'm pretty good at it, so I always get thrusted further forward. So Yeah, I'd probably say attacking midfield striker.
You sort of have had this experience where you've been to so many places. Do you remember the first time that you went abroad, whether that be to America or to Finland, Norway, or Sweden, and you thought that you've had an experience there where you go, I could do this away from home? Or has it ever sort of hit you like, I could maybe one day play full time here, for a long time, sorry, rather than full time, like you could go stay there for a couple of years?
Yeah, I think America, not so much. I think in Finland, after my first season, I had interest from League One clubs in England. So at that time, I did want to play back home at the highest level possible. But then I think it was after Sweden this year, I could have lived there. Like I fell in love with the place, with the town, and I really enjoyed playing there. But unfortunately, because of Brexit, I can't go back this year. But I think this year, sort of playing in Sweden, that was the one place where I thought, yeah, I could do this for a long time.
So that's interesting. I never really thought about that part of it. But like, if you're like you said, when you're looking for football, as you would be at the moment, has that affected you then, the Brexit side of things? Are there countries now that are harder to get to or harder for you to see yourself playing in?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the club I was at last year, PTO, they wanted to sign me for this year, but because of Brexit, there's new rules where you have to be earning a certain amount, and the club just can't afford that. I think it's a bit unclear. Certain countries, you might need a work permit or a visa, and for clubs it can be expensive. I know now clubs are looking more to Irish players or players with an Irish passport because they just bypass that rule completely. So yeah, it might be difficult, and you probably will see a lot less English players playing abroad now. It's really unfortunate.
One of my favourite interviews that I've done in the past was with a fellow Scouser, was Greg Tansey.
Okay.
For Inverness, and he spoke brilliantly about how hard injuries can hit football players, and it essentially ended his career really. And I noticed that you've just come back from having a surgery, and you're sort of getting back to it yourself. What's that like as a footballer who's looking for clubs? How hard does that hit you, getting an injury like that?
Yeah, I mean, this last year, I think with the COVID as well, it's been horrendous because I broke my leg playing out in Sweden in the middle of the year. And obviously my family couldn't fly out to see me because of COVID, and I was sort of just stuck in my room sort of thing. But now coming back, I think I've always had little niggle injuries. I've never had an injury this big, and I think it's going to make me tougher as a person and as a player. But obviously it is hard to overcome. But I'm sort of coming to terms with it now, and I'm sort of getting back out there now, and I think it makes me more determined to do it again now, and really have a good go at it.
How long have you been out for?
I've been out since July last year.
Wow.
Obviously it was just a complete leg break, so yeah.
Right in the middle of a game?
Right in the middle of the game. It was a derby against a local team. We were getting beat 1-0, and being the type of player I am, I wants to make a big tackle sort of to get everyone geared up and more determined to win the game, and it just backfired and came out worse out of 50-50. And but I think it could have been a worse injury. It could have been an ACL or something like that, where it's reoccurring. With a leg break, it's just bone heals itself and it's stronger now. So in a way, it was a good time to have an injury during COVID. There's no games, and we had a shorter season. But I think I'll come back a lot stronger.
And I know a lot how you feel, because I broke my leg myself the end of last year, or sorry, the start of last year.
Okay, yeah.
The first game of the season, playing university rugby, and it's like it sort of destroys you, immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can't get over this. Like, I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I look back now and think, why did I make that tackle? And I remember at the time I had no pain at all. It was just sort of pain in my heart. Like, I knew the season was over and it's going to be a long journey from here. But as I said, you come back stronger from it. My only leg will come back stronger because it's new bone and I've got a big metal rod in my leg. But no, as I said, it makes me more determined, and I just can't wait to get back playing now.
And I want to speak about a little bit the actual clubs that you've been to through Scandinavia, and we'll mention some of the ones back home as well. But last year with Pieter, obviously you broke your leg there, but you were part of that team who got promoted for the first time. I don't know whether that was your first experience of getting a promotion.
My first experience. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I've won promotion in Finland as well. So
that was right. Okay.
Yeah, I've ticked 2 boxes in Scandinavia for winning the league. Yeah.
What's it like then to go through being part of a team that does that sort of thing?
Oh, it's amazing. It makes you make friendships for life, and you can always look back once your career's over, and you can just be so proud of what you've achieved. But I always have every season I go into, I think I'm going to win the league. I don't know if that's a good mindset to have or a bad mindset, but it sort of worked because I think it's only one or 2 seasons in my career where I haven't won the league.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm sort of used to it now. But yeah, it's amazing, especially when it's abroad, and it's a completely different culture to winning a league back home. Yeah, it's amazing.
I've got to ask as well, just very off cuff here. I read somewhere that in Pieter, in the McDonald's, you have to go on the drive-through on ski mobiles.
I didn't see that, but it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. It really doesn't. I mean, some of the things I've seen when I've been in Scandinavia, you'll be on the team bus and you'll see a ski mobile in a field just driving next to you, and people are skiing down the streets. It is wild. Like,
what are the fans like in those countries? Because again, you have some of the indoor ones, but then you also have the opposite side where you play in the -4s outside. Do they still come out in force?
Yeah, I mean, last year there was no fans because of COVID, so unfortunately I didn't get to see that. In Norway, I think, we played Strømsgodset, who were in the top tier of Norwegian football in the cup, and it was like a sellout crowd in the indoor arena, so the sound was just incredible. You couldn't really hear the players next to you, sort of thing. And then in Finland as well, in the middle of snowstorms, and the fans will be in the stadium watching. It's amazing.
I suppose it must be a weird one when you get up for a match on a Saturday or Sunday and you're in Finland or something. You look out your window and it's snowstorming as it does. It's like, yep, game's not being called off for playing.
No, never. I mean, in England, I think a bit of rain and the games will get called off, but there, it could be 6 inches of snow and it'll just be cleared and you're playing.
I know it's a sort of asked it before, but instead of which country was your sort of favourite to live in, which has been the best team that you've been a part of in these countries? Because you've had, I might be of different resources, like you said, in different places, like a little valley in the middle of nowhere. Which one has been sort of your favourite that you've been a part of?
I think last year in Sweden was my favourite. I just got on so well with all the team, and as soon as I arrived, I just knew that it was going to be a special season. And we had games where we were getting beat 2-0 and we come back and win 3-2, and the team was fantastic. I think training with the first team with SJK was probably amazing. It was amazing in that way. As I said, training with national team players, that's probably the highest level I've trained at. It was a fantastic experience.
Do you have any specific experiences that you look back on with these clubs, whether that be in football or out the club, whatever, in these countries, which you like, God, I wish I could live through that again?
I wish I didn't break my leg. That's the main one. I think with SJK, I think when I was playing in Finland, I wish I would have pushed the boat a bit more to be playing for the first team. I think I knew I was good enough, but I think I was a bit naive at the time. I was still a bit young. I should have really been, asking the manager why I'm not playing. That's probably one of my regrets. But I'd love to. We played it was called the Regions Cup. It's like the League Cup final. And when I was in Finland and we lost in the final. I'd love to play that final again. And as well, probably just do the whole season in Norway again and win the league there. So I've completed the 3.
So something else that interests me, probably more than anything actually, is this: you've gone from you started your career where you're at sort of an academy, you played a bit at Bootle as well.
Yeah.
And then you've gone over to America, then to Finland, then to Norway, but then you've come back to England, and then you've obviously went back to Sweden in 2020. When you're back in England, do you ever consider going away abroad again, or do you think, right, I'm back in England, this is where I'm going to be playing now?
Nah, you get the bug to go back abroad again, I think. I think once you're back home, you sort of see the politics of English football, and if a manager gets sacked, he's going to bring in a whole new team of his own players. And as soon as I went back, I just knew this isn't for me. And right now at that time, I mean, in the future, definitely, I can see myself playing in England. But yeah, I think you're longing for it. When you're back in England, you think, oh, I want to go back abroad again and do it again.
What is it that sort of leads that? You mentioned like you have the politics and the culture, which everybody wishes didn't exist as much as it does. But do you not really get that as much abroad?
No, not really. I think it's you sort of, because they've signed you, whereas when you're playing abroad, a lot of the players are local. But if they've signed you, you're sort of the main player in a way. It sounds a bit disrespectful. You still got to fight for your place. But you think you've got a better chance of playing, and managers get sacked a lot less than they do in England. And I think when you sign, you're gonna have that manager pretty much for the whole year. You're there, and if the manager signed you and he likes you, he's going to stick with you. Whereas in England, I mean, I signed for a club here, played 2 or 3 games, and the manager got sacked, and you sort of, well, where do I go now, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned because again, it's sort of one that you think about it, but you never really think it might be real. But this idea of when you're an English lad, you go abroad, there's almost this pressure on you to be a really good player because you're English. Did that expectation sort of follow you around?
A little bit. You sort of always relied on to perform each week. But again, it just goes back to that time when I was at Liverpool when I was younger. You still you go out to enjoy it, and I think the pressure for me, I don't really feel the pressure. Sort of again, just want to enjoy it, and I'm confident in my own ability, sort of thing. So yeah, I don't really feel it as much.
How different are, and use an example if you want, but it's how different are the cultures in there? Like, because you have this idea of, again, we mentioned the crazy fans and the snowstorms indoors, but how, again, you came back to England and went away to Sweden. Is it very, very obvious to you? Are there signs there? It's like, right, I'm in a foreign country now. This is I can tell because of the mounds of snow on the side of the pitch, or
yeah, I think that there's definitely personality differences between English culture and foreign culture. I think different senses of humour, and I think you can get away with a lot more abroad than you probably could in England. But yeah, I think there's definitely a difference compared to English culture.
Yeah. What's it like? Because obviously you're without a club at the moment, and you're looking for that, and it's a side of football that people don't really get to see as much. What's it like being a free agent? How tough is it to put yourself through that? Especially coming back from an injury. How tough is it to find a new club, or are you constantly in contact with people?
Oh, it's horrendous. It's the worst time of the year. It is. It's horrible because you get knockbacks and rejections. I mean, I'll never forget. I went to Cheltenham Town on trial. It was in League One at the time, and I'd done really, really well in the trial. Probably the best trial I've ever had. I'm thinking I'm getting a trial here, and it come off the back of me season in Finland. And I was meant to play in a game on the Friday, I think it was, against Plymouth, and it got called off. And the first team manager called me into the office, and he was saying, "We really like you, but we need to see you in the game." And he was questioning me about where I've played, and I said, "I've been in Finland." And I told him about the season. I had an amazing season, scored a ton of goals. And he said, "Yeah, but that's not England." And I was a bit, what do you mean? He said, "Well, I can't see you playing abroad. If you're playing in England, I can watch you, but you've never done anything in England. So if you want, if I wanted to go on trial with a club in England, a lot of old school managers think I've got to be playing in England. They just disregard completely everything I've done abroad. So at times that can be tough, and it can be mentally draining, and trying to respond to different clubs, and as I said, getting knockbacks, and you think, oh, I'm going to sign for this club, and it turns out they signed someone else on loan from higher up and cost them nothing. So I've been through it all, so I'm pretty much used to it now. And especially, with an injury as well, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm speaking to a couple of clubs at the moment, and it seems quite promising. So I think my next move, I'm just going to take my time a little bit and make sure it's the right one.
Yeah, of course. And it's something else that I noticed you're doing a bit more, and it's becoming much more popular. And I've spoken to a few people about it. Is this sort of self-promotion that players can now do? You know, the amount of social media that's out there now. Yourself, you got Twitter and you're using YouTube, and I've seen the stuff that you put in there. I think it's really good, and it's that sort of, how important to your career is that sort of stuff at the moment, especially when you're looking for a club, and how time consuming is it when you're not at a team?
It's vital. I mean, I think the LinkedIn culture sort of it's booming at the moment, sort of putting your profile on there. But that's how I got, I think, my first move in Finland and America was through LinkedIn. I was doing it ages ago. And for me, unfortunately, a lot of clubs look at Transfer Market, you know, the website, and it gives all the statistics for a player, but certain leagues aren't registered on the website. So I'll send my Transfer Market link to a club and they'll see no statistics and go, well, where have you been playing? Where clearly I've been playing, I've got all the video footage, but they go, oh, but you haven't got a Transfer Market value, or you haven't got any statistics, so we won't sign you. And it can be so frustrating. So having the video and the CV to back it up, it's really important.
Does that then sort of excel that need for accounts, sort of like the English players abroad and these other English supporting accounts, because they're the ones who are keeping track of what you're doing?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I think they've got all the statistics that have been playing abroad, and it can, you know, it only takes one person to see the profile and think, oh, I'll have a look into his profile. So having them platforms, it's pretty vital, to be honest. Yeah.
I was going to say a couple of quick fire ones were, like, what's the best game that you've played in? What's the one that sticks out the most in your mind, from whether that be abroad, whether that be as a youth player?
I'll give you one abroad and I'll give you one as a youth player. Barcelona has to be. Playing at Wembley and scoring the winner against Barcelona, that's top of the list. And then abroad, I'd probably say a mix between my first game for Piteå, where I scored the opening goal of the season, and playing against Strømsgodset in the Norwegian Cup, in front of a big crowd in the indoor. I think they're my two big ones.
In that game against Strømsgodset, did you win that game? Did you say? Or was it?
No. So we were playing against the top division side, and it was 1-1 until I think it was the 84th, 85th minute, and they scored 2 in the last minute. So it's heartbreaking. I think it's the furthest the club I was playing for I'd ever got, and the club as well. And yeah, to hold them for that long, I know that's a pretty good achievement. Like.
And you mentioned the academies that you played for, and a couple of these, you know, playing against some of these bigger sides abroad. Who's the best player that you've ever played with or against so far?
I think when we played against PSG, we got beat 5-0 for the night academy. I think they had Rabiot playing. I think Kimpembe was playing. Augustin was playing, and we just got absolutely slaughtered. They were unbelievable. I think when we played against Barcelona, I think Ricky Puig was playing. He plays on and off for the first team at Barcelona at the moment. So I think he stands in good stead playing against some decent players. Like,
does it ever, like obviously, like you mentioned, that Nike Academy is that sort of good of an experience. Do you ever? I can't imagine what the feeling is like, sort of at the same time trying to look for a club, but also getting to play against these players and playing against these big teams. It's like you sort of want that to continue forever, even though you know it can't.
Yeah. I mean, I know lads who've gone out on trial with clubs and sort of not done as well, so they could go back and play for the Nike Academy as well. Yeah. As I said, it was that good. It was better than most Premier League academies at the time. You know, the gear that we were getting new boots and new kits every week. And as I said, playing against some of the best academies in the world, going abroad to Rome, Paris, playing against these teams. It was too good.
Which is the hardest language you've had to try and learn? Finnish. Finnish looks very
confusing. Yeah. to be honest, it's pretty bad, but it's only Swedish that I actually tried to learn. I think I sort of just binned it off learning Norwegian and Finnish. I heard one sentence and I was thinking, I've had enough of that. But I had a really good go at Swedish, and it was pretty hard, to be honest.
Would you go back there if you were given the chance to Sweden?
Sweden, 100% in a heartbeat. Yeah, I mean, I was close to going back this year, but obviously with Brexit and everything, I can't go back. But yeah, I love it. I mean, I'd go anywhere in Scandinavia, to be honest. I think I've got to do Denmark at some point. I've got to completely tick everything off, and I feel like I've sort of got to go back to Norway at some point and tick that off. But yeah.
So what is the immediate future hold for you then? Because obviously I assume you're back sort of full training for yourself now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As I said, I'm speaking to a couple of clubs, some in the UK, a couple abroad. But as I said, it's got to be the right fit for me at this time. I mean, I could go up to Scotland now and finish the season off, or I could go somewhere else and play a full season. It's sort of just weighing up that option at the moment, but I think I can take my time a little bit and weigh up everything.
Yeah. Like I said, it's been such a pleasure to speak to you, because I know how sort of weird these experiences are, and I love hearing about them. And if you had any advice to give to a young up and coming player, sort of how you were when you were 19 going to America or over to Finland, it's like, what would your one piece of advice be to sort of help them through
that? Just go and just make the most of the experience. And in these places, you've got to experience the culture and go out and see new things. I think you can get stuck in the rut of trying to make it in England and you're not getting a chance. Whereas if the opportunity comes up abroad, just go and do it. And just immerse yourself in the whole experience.
I think that's a brilliant piece of advice, and I've heard it a lot. People say just go if you have the chance, do it. Even if it's I imagine it's a bit harder at the moment.
Yeah, you won't regret it. You can look back and think, oh, I could have played in England, but the experiences and the friends that you make, and you look back once you've finished your career and you think, oh, I'm glad I've done that. I think 9 times out of 10 you're gonna have a good experience.
Well, thanks so much for speaking to me, by the way, because I know it's a bit earlier and we've tried for a while.
No, that's my fault. But
no, it's all right. I know that I sent 2 invites as well.
I don't worry about it.
I sent one last night, and I woke up this morning and thought, I've not sent one. I completely sent it again. But no, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. And I've been asking this of everybody, because I'm trying to sort of try and grow this web that we've got sort of going at the moment, is if you ever know anybody that you think would happy to speak to me and they've sort of got that connection to Scandinavian football, Nordic football, then please let us know, because I'd love to try to grow that.
100%, yeah. Base. I think a few of the English lads that have played abroad, that they'd be happy to speak to you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'll speak to them and let them know.
Thanks very much. Yeah, no, it's even if you just passing over the names to us, and I can try and annoy them enough that they'll reply.
Yeah, not a problem. I think a few of the lads in Norway, I think they'd be happy to speak to you.
Brilliant. But no, thanks so much, and I really hope that your career sort of takes off a bit when you get sort of signed for a team, and especially this season coming up, whether that be the end of the season or next year. So
yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm looking forward to it.
Luck.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much for it. And I'll be putting out little bits of it on Twitter and stuff. So
yeah,
dog's barking. No, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate. Looking forward to it. Bye.